So far away, we wait for the day, for the lives also wasted and gone. We feel the pain of lifetime lost in 1,000 days. Through the fire and the flames we carry on. Oh, didn't hear you come in. My apologies, but this episode just reminded me so much of countless epic power metal songs I couldn't resist singing a few. But anyway, on to the meat of this video. Greetings one and all, and welcome to the Mystic Mind Analysis. I am the Nightmare Rider, Mage of Mind, reminding you as always that even a cheeseburger can be deconstructed its original source. Gauntlet of Fire is our first Spike episode for Season 6, and is absolutely a testament to the lasting development of his character. Spike episodes still have a lingering reputation for being low in quality for one reason or another, but I am starting to see a more clear break in this trend if this episode is anything to go by. In spite of building upon the events of Dragon Quest, one of the worst episodes of the show in my opinion, these two writers managed to work with this theme in order to improve upon its flaws for a similar story. The key difference between Dragon Quest and Gauntlet of Fire is that Spike no longer feels a crisis of identity about who he is. He may be a dragon, but by the way he expresses his individuality makes him feel much more at home among ponies, something which he no longer has any doubts about. The Dragonland sets the stage for us to learn more about dragon culture, and I will be the first to admit, I was just as excited as Twilight to see how these noble beasts behave beyond the few select teenagers we have seen before. Dragon Lord Torch rules over the dragons in an extremely authoritarian might makes right system, commanding others to act as he sees fit at any given moment. From both Garble and Torch's reactions to forbidding his smaller daughter, Princess Ember, from competing, we get to see a good illustration of the feminist concept known as toxic masculinity. Contrary to popular belief, this is not a suggestion that being masculine in itself is toxic, but rather it refers to the enforcement of negative masculine gender roles in order to pressure men into proving the legitimacy of their masculinity, while also being the complete rejection of feminine traits. Showing emotion and being sensitive towards others are seen as typically feminine traits, and so while not absolute, men who exhibit these are often treated as weak, becoming less valued as men due to it. We see how Garble makes various spiteful references to Spike being friends with ponies, framing them in a very exaggerated manner as a means to devalue Spike's worthiness of competing for the title of Dragon Lord. In a similar manner, Ember has internalized a lot of these ideas about toxic masculinity, as displayed in how she awkwardly tries to dismiss her motivations for helping Spike, refusing to admit that they have anything to do with her desires for friendship. Since she states multiple times that dragons don't do friends, this shows that even if she wants to prove that one can be a ruler without being physically brawny, she still finds it difficult to accept how friendship and teamwork can be beneficial to her, likely due to how her own father dismisses her capabilities based on her physical size alone. Her gender is never brought up as a factor, but it is easy to compare this to how girls are excluded from typically masculine activities, or how common phrases such as "fight like a girl" imply that cis women are the weaker gender. We see how Spike's dedication to his moral compass challenges his internalized biases, appealing to her already culturally deviant ideas that her intelligence more than makes up for what she lacks in physical size. In spite of Garble's teasing, Spike is completely confident in his noble desire to help all, even if it is to his own detriment, as we see Garble taking advantage of Spike's aid. Spike sees how Ember is different to other dragons, and so even if she denies that she sees him as a friend, he still trusts her absolutely when she returns. While this episode did well to develop Spike and Dragon lore, Rarity and Twilight are relegated to more supporting roles. While this isn't inherently a bad thing, the support seemed to be little more than cheerleading, as neither Twilight nor Rarity seem to get involved with anything other than moral support. It is briefly lampshaded that the two ponies always seem to be ahead of Spike somehow, but this joke never really goes anywhere, thus just pointing out a plot hole. They didn't even have to get directly involved in aiding Spike through the Gauntlet, seeing as that would undermine Spike's efforts in making allies with other dragons. If there was some reason given for why they could not defend themselves against most of the smaller dragons, then we could have given both them and Spike an extra conflict to deal with, since Spike is already at a disadvantage to achieving his goals. Part of the appeal of Friendship is Magic was that the teleplay was written in a more natural sounding way, without needing to sound overtly childish or state the obvious. But with the amount of times we get a literal statement about how dragons reject the friendship Spike offers them, which we could have at least seen more of coming from Garble, since he could have attacked those that got in his way like he did with Ember towards the end. What I liked most about this episode is that Spike is coming into his own as a delegate of friendship. Since season 4, the main 6 have all begun to use their own lessons of friendships to help others along settle their own personal disputes. However, Spike's attempt to do a similar thing has not exactly been met with positive results. But now he has caught a good break, showing through his kindness and dedication to everything Twilight and his pony friends live up to be. Not only this, but he is helping reshape an entire culture of dragons into a new, more successful empire. We have seen with the Kingdom of Griffinstone how greed and selfishness towards material wealth creates a kingdom that is doomed to fail, and now we have seen where aggressiveness of dragon macho culture threatens Equestria with outright war. All averted simply because Spike acts as himself and is selfless enough to show that one dragon who has doubts about the restrictive nature of her culture that there is more to ruling than simply commanding through brute force. Overall, this is another episode that I would label as flawed brilliance. I found the very on-the-nose dialogue about not needing friendship to be rather unnecessarily blunt by the standards of the show, not helped by the lack of active participation by Rarity and Twilight. We don't have much of a reason to fear the juvenile dragons, both being factors which significantly hold this episode back from fully living up to its high concept. However, considering that dragon culture represents almost the opposite of the progressive attitudes towards femininity that makes this generation of MLP stand out more, as well as just how much Spike manages to achieve, this is a positive trend for Spike episodes that I hope to see continuing. I give Gauntlet of Fire a final grade of a straight B. What did you make of this episode? Feel free to discuss it in the comments below. Until next time, this is the Nightmare Rider, Major Bind, riding out. So, I wonder if future me is keeping count of how many power references I made. You didn't come up with many more references than I did you? Figured as much. From the silent